Hi, and welcome back to part 2 of the Waterbox build. So the tank is pretty much done for now. I have all the equipment installed. I have first 2 rounds of fish that I'm gonna have for a little while, and my first round of coral. All of these coral in here now came from the other tank. Although I did buy a few small frags from a live sale, mostly encrusting stuff, so there is some new stuff in here. But for now, as this thing matures, I'm going to hold off maybe at least a month or 2 before I add any more fish or corals. Everything else that I'm going to add from here on out is probably going to be SPS for the top deck. So if you look at the rocks, most of the top parts of the rocks are empty or have a single frag in them. Now I do have some SPS in here. I have a single acro frag, a Monty frag, a bird's nest, and some Pavona. All of that is kind of like my starter stuff to see how it does. This is the final aquascape, and I'm super happy with this upgrade. And I've had people ask me, do I miss the old tank? And yeah, I miss those big colonies, but I'm okay with that. I got rid of it. Really enjoyed upgrading and starting fresh. Sometimes upgrades don't always go as planned. That 170, that was an SPS tank, kind of started as an 18-gallon tank 10 years ago. And then from the 18-gallon, I upgraded to a 40-gallon breeder. And then I upgraded to the Red Sea Reefer 450, and then upgraded to the 170. So each upgrade, I added a little bit of rock and a little bit more coral. So every time you upgrade, you're using rocks covered with coral and putting it in a system that it wasn't really designed for. So every time you move up, it's really difficult to get things exactly how you want because the rocks are covered in coral. It's not like you can play Tetris and find the perfect rockscape. You're kind of limited in what you can do and what you can add. And I get attached to stuff and don't like getting rid of coral or fish. So it was really nice starting over and having a clean slate. It's going to take a while to get back to the condition that my old tank was. I mean, there's no doubt that tank had some big acros and looked really nice. And I will say I missed that. I think long term I'm going to be happier with this setup here. So one question I get asked about all the time, at least with my 38-gallon Peninsula, but even with my first video on this, someone asked, why did you get a Peninsula if you just back it up against the wall instead of use it as a room divider? And the reason is I don't like black backgrounds. So with a Peninsula tank, I have that full back panel open. My wall is white in the background, so it makes it kind of look white on the back. It's brighter and it gives a little more depth from that, space between the wall and the tank. With the black background, it didn't look natural. I just couldn't get by it. At least with the white, if you're in a shallow reef, the water looks kind of white in the background. The deeper you go, it gets a little more blue, and then at about like 30 feet, it's pretty dark blue when you're like looking past the rocks. So I think it's a more natural look than the black background. So the reason I go with Peninsula, obviously the black background, but then with my Red Sea Reefer 450, I took the black vinyl off the back, but then you're left with this big black overflow box in the middle. There's some that have external overflows, but then you're gonna see the external overflow, the piping, all that kind of stuff. So the Peninsula, everything you can put on one side of the tank and leave almost all of the tank equipment free. So that's why I went with Peninsula, because I just like the look. As far as the cycle on this tank, I didn't really go through much of a cycle. I think because I used this one piece of really established live rock that I've had in my system for about 10 years, that and then all the Marco rock. You can see it's only been 6 weeks and it's already darkened up. These pieces were new. I was gonna add some more rock in here just because that piece and this piece by themselves, it just looked a little empty. So I built another big rock piece, cured a bunch of other stuff, and then I added it to the tank, and to be honest, it just didn't look right. It kind of took away from this bommy that I really like the shape of. So I ended up removing it, and that's something that I never would have done in the past, is spent the effort, I spent the money building this rock thing and then put it in the tank, hated it. Old me would have kept it in there just because of the fact that I made the effort, but I pulled it out, threw it in a bucket, and then maybe I'll use it in a new tank some other time, or maybe I'll redo my 38 gallon. But for now, I just added this rock in the back, this one in front, and this one kind of off to the side, just for some extra placement of corals. But that is pretty much the aquascape. But yeah, so the rock that's been in here about 6 weeks, it's looking really good. I'm starting, even at 6 weeks, I'm starting to get some serious coralline algae growth. I had some on the back panel, but I just scraped it off for the video, so it looks nice and pretty. And you can see there in the corner, there's some coralline that I couldn't get to, but yeah, I think at 6 weeks having really good coralline algae growth is something I'm kind of proud of. It was definitely in here from this rock. This rock's kind of covered. It all survived, it didn't lighten up at all, so I guess I'm doing something right. So when I set up this tank, I filled it up with water. I added the salt, mixed that for a day. Then I figured, you know what? The salt's in there, it's up to temperature. Let's put the rock in. So I had all of the rock in here, cooking it in a Brute trash can for, I think like 3 or 4 weeks. I put it in here. I added this piece from my other tank, which is covered in coralline. It's got some coral on it. I threw that in there as well. I figured that rock alone would probably do all of the bio load from my first round of fish if my rocks weren't ready. But I figured they would be ready, just, you know, perfectly fine. So after about a week, the couple corals that I had in the tank looked pretty good. So I went ahead and made my first fish order, which included 2 orange skunk clowns, 3 of the ORA lemon peel damsels, or lemon damsels, yellow damsels, whatever they are. And then 3 of the fangtooth blennies. I forget which ones these are called, but they're black and white stripes, yellow head, blue tail. Really cool. I saw someone on Instagram had more than one in their tank and asked and said they don't really fight, so I thought that'd be cool to add a trio of those. Now I do notice they might chase here and there at night. I think they find like a little hole, kind of post up in there at night, but throughout the day they kind of do their own thing, but every once in a while they'll kind of group up and hang out, which is kind of cool. So I had those fish for, what, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, did really well. I moved all of my stony coral from the other 38 gallon tank into here and kind of let those set for a week or 2 on racks and stuff on the bottom, and they did really well. And then since those did well, the fish were doing well, I started adding nitrate to kind of keep the nutrients up. I fed really heavy. Once the first edition of corals went well, there was a few live sales that I picked up some pieces that I really liked for cheap. Ended up getting a few things out of that. So it's mostly stony corals and things that I've either had before that I really liked, or stuff that I wanted to try. Everything was doing well. I went ahead and did my second order of fish, where I got a biota yellow tang, biota blue hippo tang, court jester goby, and a lynx goby. My blue tang did come in with a little bit of head and lateral line erosion. I think the stress from shipping probably did it. He spent the first 24 hours hiding, but then on the second day he was out and about swimming around. So I've been feeding pretty heavy with some Celcon and various foods just to try to fatten him up. I'm hoping, because it was cute, that maybe he won't have any long-term scarring. Hopefully he recovers fully. He seems to be healthy otherwise. Some of the SPS I've already added was a blue Montipore digitata. I got that from Unique. I've had the German blue, which is more of like purpley navy under highlight. This is pretty unique. It's like a metallic-y lighter blue and looks pretty good. Something I haven't seen before, and it's doing well. And then the one acro I have from Worldwide Corals, it's the Solomon Split, and it seems to be doing okay. Looks like it's darkened up recently, but it's been encrusting in the last couple weeks. One of the bird's nest, I bought this locally maybe a month or two ago. It's the Route 66 bird's nest. I forget the total name, but it's like it's a different bird's nest from your standard. It looks more like an acropora as far as growth, and it's kind of browned out right now. Normally it's like fluorescent neon green with blue polyps. One area that I thought would be cool with this little panel on the back that I removed is I just put one rock with 2 branching Sophastria, Astreopora, and a zoanthid. So this is kind of like a cool little secret window to the back of the tank. And then on the back of the rock here, I put a lepto up there. So maybe I'll put some more stuff back here. It's kind of cool, you can only see it from the back. So what's my philosophy for this tank? It's gonna be pretty similar to my last tank. A lot of water changes every week. I'm gonna do 20 gallons, which is a little more than 10%. Protein skimming and minimal mechanical filtration. So I have filter socks in here now, mainly because I moved some stuff around yesterday. So I'm just kind of using that to clean up the water. But normally I'll take those out after a day and don't run any mechanical filtration. It's just the heater, the skimmer, and the return pump, auto top off. In this iteration of my Reef, it's gonna be a lot less high tech than the last one. So I'm gonna do manual dosing for now. No controllers other than the inkbird for my heaters. I have an auto top off and then some Versa dosing. I'm not running any ICP or any method. It's pretty much just like your old school Berlin method. I'm not gonna do ICP testing. I don't think the technology's there yet, mainly because, you know, companies aren't providing standards. ICP testing is not just buy a machine, put water through it and get results. It requires a lot of calibrations for each of the elements, and then you gotta know how to interpret all that stuff. There's a lot of prep involved and a lot of things that can go wrong. I do air testing for work, and we do ICP analysis for some of the metals like welding fumes and that kind of stuff. And the lab we use, it's expensive, but they give us a breakdown of all of their QCs. So they have a standard and a known sample. They run every 5th sample, and they give us that information so we know that everything's calibrated and responding correctly. And then for every element, they also give us a standard deviation of our result. We don't get that in the reefing world, so yeah, is it gonna be useful for a lot of people? Yeah, but at the same time, I think just doing crazy water changes in the Isolate MT, not a sponsor, I don't have sponsors. This has everything where there's evidence that corals need. So all the elements that, you know, a meta-analysis found that the corals actually use those elements is in here in the right ratios. So I just put a drop in a day, way less than what they recommend. I figure a little of something is better than nothing. I don't have to worry about testing. I'm gonna do enough water changes, so I don't think it's gonna do anything, but it makes me feel like I'm doing something for my reef, so maybe that's just for me. Another thing with ICP testing is I see a lot of times online where there'll be a post where someone's like, holy crap, my zinc is through the roof, or my this or that element's through the roof, only to find out it was the analysis was off. They do another test and it came back normal. So if there's no way to know if your results are accurate, am I really gonna spend 50 bucks a month or however much it costs to get these results? Now, if I get something crazy, yeah, I can double check that and see if that crazy result is accurate or not. But what if I have a crazy level of tin, but the ICP is way underreporting it, showing everything's normal? There's really no way. The only time we ever double check our testing is if something looks wrong. So what my method is, I'm gonna stick to larger water changes. I'm gonna make sure my salinity is perfect. So I use a glass floating hydrometer to check my refractometer. I don't use the solution anymore. I found those drift over time. I had several situations where my tank salinity would creep up to 37 parts per thousand, only to find out that my calibration solution is off. I had someone tell me that it's possible for a little bit of water to evaporate through the plastic over time, so who knows. But with the glass floating hydrometer, I know that my salinity is going to be perfect every time. I've started testing my RO water for total chlorine and free chlorine, so I know if the carbon blocks are taking out the chloramines. I had some suspicion last year that I had chloramine issues, so now I'm going to test for that. So good water in, and I'm not really going to worry about ICP testing. Another thing that I saw from a video was Patrick from Reef Wholesalers in Canada. He talked about looking at adding trace elements based on food. So instead of dosing iodine, feed more algae, or add a variety of types of food. So different foods you feed will have different elements. So I'll kind of go that route. If for whatever reason I get a crazy SPS growth and start having issues, yeah, maybe then I'll look at some ICP testing as like a backup, but just standard protocol, that's not for me. Just completed something that I wanted to do since I set this tank up. I put this plastic piece here to prevent splashes from the sump, because this was just open. So, you know, splashes coming over here. I mean, I have my outlets up on top, as high up as I could get, but I didn't want this to overhang so that if there's a splash on this side here, it will drip down back into the sump. So it makes this part of the sump look much brighter. So I attached this plastic using these nuts and bolts that are meant for these aluminum T-slot. So it goes in, and then when you tighten it down, it pulls on the T-slot here, and you can tighten that down. So I bought a bunch of these, so in the future I may do some more mods. Like this is a nice section here where I can go halfway across and do like a little shelf. So might do something cool like that in the future. I also use them, you can see there's a bolt up here. I use them to attach this piece of wood so I could attach my power brick here. As for next round of fish, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna add. I definitely need more bioload. I was thinking of a gold flake angel from Biota, but there's something inside of me that just can't pull the trigger on a $500 fish, even though I think that fish is just awesome. So still thinking about that. Initially wanted to keep this all captive raised fish, but then I got to thinking, you know, I really like coelatangs, I really like wrasse and some other things. So maybe another blue throat trigger, not a pair. I don't think my tank's big enough for the pair after the last pair I had. Or maybe I'll try something new. But yeah, I want to add one or two more big fish in here, and then a couple, you know, more colorful fish. So my next step is I'm going to add SPS in a few months to these top decks. I mean, as of right now, I kind of don't like the look. I really like a full tank, so I got to keep telling myself that it's temporary, that it's such an empty tank, but I'm trying to be patient. Once I get this thing going a little more, I'll probably do some updates here and there, but I'm not gonna do some crazy weekly or monthly updates until I really get some coral growth. But I got a few things planned for here and there. In case anyone asks, I am not sponsored by any of these. If you give me free crap, I will wear it. See ya.